Hey everyone, just waiting for Neil to hop on real quick. Hey Jordan, how you doing, brother? Just waiting for Neil to hop on. Neil is fashionably late, like always, but that's Neil for you. I wish I was as cool as Neil. Hope you're all doing great today. Any moment now, Neil. There we go. I'm doing great, Jordan. How about yourself, man? I keep accepting it. What the fuck? There we go.
What's up, man?
How you doing today, brother?
Good, man. Honestly, dude, I do this like somewhat often. I forgot how to join live. I was clicking a bunch of buttons, clicking some hearts, and then I realized that there's a request to join button. So fuck that one. So we're here. What's going on?
It's okay. I think I pressed accept like 10 times,
Hmm.
and my fucking fat thumb was like, you know what? It's not gonna register. Fuck this.
It's a beautiful thumb, beautiful growing thumb.
Yeah, no. Uh,
There it is.
there's always a part of me that wants to get a tattoo on my thumb. So
Yeah.
when I was a kid, um, this proves how much of a fat kid I was. I have this burn on my thumb right there.
Mm,
It looks like a little eye.
mm.
And when I was a kid, I was making a pizza in the oven, and my mom always told me, because when I was younger, I think I was like 7 or 8. She's like, just put the pizza in the microwave if I'm at home. Only use the oven when I was home. And I instinctively knew that pizza was always better in the oven. Always better. The
Oh,
crust is so much better.
right.
So as a kid, I put the pizza in the oven, and this is the dumbest reason in the world. For the dumbest reason, I thought I could pull pizza out of the oven using a paper towel.
Ooh. Well, hey, at least you learned a
Like,
lesson early.
exactly. I guess I learned my lesson early. But now I have that scar forever, so I really want to make this an eye. Because I already have one eye, make it two eyes.
Oh, it's brilliant. That's
Right?
actually brilliant. Oh, I feel like that would look really good.
Yeah. Shows how much of a child I am, man.
I love it. I love it. So, other than pizzas, man, tell me, sir, what are some of the questions that came in? I'm curious.
So one of the ones actually was a super one that I think resonates with both of us. It
Mm,
was, and it actually lines very much up with the Nerval program. Is like, how do you get back on track after you fall off?
mm,
And that's like pretty much getting unstuck. That's
yeah,
pretty much what that is.
yeah,
Uh, and every high achiever or someone that has a very specific goal knows what it feels like to become derailed and lose momentum.
yeah,
And it's all about stacking momentum all over again.
yeah.
And that's the hard part, though, because like you need to find the silver lining to be able to start doing that all over again.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I think yeah. You mean you definitely hit it on the head. Like winning starts with winning, right? So it's like it's all about perspective. So there's a book. It's called Psycho-Cybernetics, and it talks about how do you change your perception of self, right? How do you change your ego? And I remember one specific example was talking about like think about a win that you had in your life. And the author's like, even if you might feel like you don't have a win, you always have a win. He's like, think about when the feeling you get when you tie your shoes. It's this feeling of completion, right? And so that's why we always have this example of making your bed first thing in the morning. Because when you make your bed first thing in the morning, you get a dopamine spike, right?
Mhm.
You're embodied in that feeling of winning. And then, when you feel like you're winning, then you actually will start winning, right? And so what I always say this is that, no, I don't always say this. I just honestly just said it now for the first time, but winning starts with winning.
Mhm.
But it's true, right? So I think that's like the first thing is that generating momentum, even if it only starts in your mind. I think something else for me is I've come to realize that, like, especially as you start doing harder and harder things, it's not really about not falling off. It's more so about getting on track as quickly as possible. Like, it's never going to be like this. And if it is, the life that you're living is way too fucking easy,
Yeah.
right? But it's going to be more like this, right? Now, if it goes too far like this, then that's a problem, and you need to. It's like a code red. You need to figure out how to get your way back. But it's always going to be like this: fall off, get back on, 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 right? So I'll give an example, right? I'm doing the Spania challenge, and each week I'm increasing in the cold plunge by a minute and increasing in the sauna by a minute, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this week I'm at 27. Today I got 27 each, but I was not feeling 27 in a row,
Yeah.
to a point where I said, as I finished 27 minutes, it doesn't matter what the intervals were, right?
Yeah.
So technically, am I getting off track? Yeah, I'm getting off track, but just a little, because I'm still showing up, I'm still keeping the momentum, still the habit. And so I think that's the other thing, right? Is like, yeah, you want to hold yourself to a high standard. Yeah, you want to put pressure on yourself, but not to a point that's going to make you lose, because the goal is to not lose. The goal is to win, right? So
Yeah.
that's my take on it.
No, I have to agree. And like Jocko says this, like sometimes you have to show up and check boxes. Like you don't have to do it as intensely as you normally do it. You don't have to set PRs. Sometimes you just have to show up and just check the boxes. And that's all you have to do those days. And that gives you enough of a win that you're not falling off track, or it minimizes how much you're falling off track. And like it's kind of like I want to compare it to like someone who's been in a relationship for a very long time and then just now found themselves single and doesn't know how to be single anymore. They kind of have to like almost like brush off the cobweb, so to speak.
Yeah.
You never want to get to the point where you actually really have to brush off the cobwebs when it comes to whatever endeavor you're doing. Like you're saying, like the harder, more challenging, the more rewarding the goals are, the more likely you are to get derailed, and just going back to how fastly can I get close back on track. Um, and like it's almost like every big massive company has almost hit bankruptcy several times.
Absolutely.
And the biggest thing in reality is like how did they get past that and hit the pinnacle where they're at now? And like we use the one with Elon Musk all the time, how close he was to bankruptcy, or like how literally the CEO of fucking FedEx had to go gamble the remainder of the money to last them until they close the round of
Yeah,
funding, right? Like if your goals don't scare you, your goals aren't big enough.
absolutely.
Um, we got one message in here. Sometimes the struggle with negative self-talk when you aren't 100% on track makes it hard to get back on track. I struggle with that for sure. Keith, I can totally relate to that 100%. And like it's I don't know about you, but for me it also comes down to sometimes like not just negative self-talk, but a lack of
Mm.
belief. And like me falling back into like my imposter syndrome, I'm not thinking that my current accomplishments are enough for me to be wherever
Mm.
I'm at. And I don't feel like I don't earn that, or I don't own that, and I don't deserve to be there. So like I understand exactly where you're coming from, Keith. And Neil, I know that you definitely felt that similarly too.
Yeah, especially lately, the imposter syndrome. Mark, you mind if I do a tiny bit of live coaching here? Just
Yeah, by
a
all
little.
means,
All right, cool.
take it away.
And actually, this is something Chris told me. So I'm just passing the baton. But as soon as you start to call something mine, you start to identify with it. So when you call it my depression, a lot of people do this: my depression, my anxiety, my imposter syndrome. You
Mm-hmm.
now make it a part of you because you're saying that it's mine. That's the language. But when
Yeah.
you say that I'm struggling with imposter syndrome, which you also said that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then it's something separate from you. Then you don't identify it as being yours, right? And so that's like I'm so like I try to be vigilant now about not using the word need, right, and not saying my, because if I say I need to do this, I need to do that, right, it makes it go from something I get to do that I'm allowed to do to something that I need to do, that I have to do, that I must do. And if you say something is yours, right, then you feel like it's a part of you, but it's not. The imposter syndrome you're struggling with is not a part of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just something that you experience, right? So there's that. As far as the negative self-talk, you know, I play with this one, right? Because on one hand, like a lot of high achievers suffer deep insecurity,
Yeah.
right?
Why
But on
else?
the other side,
Why else would they strive to accomplish what they want to accomplish, right?
right, right. But then on the other side of it, does negative self-talk really actually ever help you?
So I used to think it did, right?
Yeah.
I used to, and I think I do this sometimes, right? I lean into the negative, right? And like this is something that Jordan Peterson talks about is you have to understand that there is a demonic side of you that you have the ability to tap into when you need to accomplish certain tasks. But like you don't live there. right? You visit here. This is not where you live. And I used to call it sometimes, but I don't think it serves me the way it used to serve me, because the person I am now and the energy I have now and people I interact with now, I can't walk around being that person.
Right, right. And it obviously depends on the hat that you're wearing, right? If you're going to
Yeah.
crush your work versus if you're in the coach, the coach identity, right? But let me ask you this, Mark. Isn't there a difference between I'm a piece of shit and I will fucking kill you? Right?
Yeah.
Because the I will fucking kill you, that's dark energy, but that's a predator. That's
Yeah.
still like that's still positive to a degree, right? Because it's like it's penetrative, it's like it's building, it's
Yeah.
conquering, right? Whereas saying I'm a piece of shit, that's like that's negative self-talk. And so I personally asked myself the question. I'm like thinking to myself, like, I don't think there's ever an instance where truly talking negatively about yourself or to yourself will get you closer to your goals, right? And maybe I didn't explore it enough, but I don't think so.
I wouldn't say per se yet. I think like if you don't, you're a pussy is like the closest thing that kind of works, right?
Okay.
Like if I quit now, I'm a pussy. Like during a set or during a run, like I can imagine leaning on that. But yeah, no, I can't really think of like it's it's different if it's self talk compared to talk from someone else,
Right.
right? Because like at the end of the day, no one's words can actually make you fail
Right.
except your own,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's how it works. You can use other people's words as fuel, I believe,
Right.
100%, because there is no better taste of revenge compared to massive
Yeah.
success, right?
100%.
Like making someone eat their own words is the best fucking feeling in the absolute world.
Absolutely.
So like, I will say like negative talk from other people can obviously fuel your fire, but yeah, no, I agree with you. Negative self talk never really helps anyone get from A to B any faster.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. I do want to go back to the one thing we were talking about too, before I forget it, is we're talking about like staying the path and like not going off track, right?
Hmm.
So like what is traction, right? If we look at a train, like traction is like the train staying on the actual tracks,
Hmm.
right? So then what does the word distraction means? All it means is getting off track. And so when I found that definition out, or when I like learned or saw the way the word was constructed, I was like, well, fuck. So instead of saying so focused on just staying on track, maybe what I need to do is just stay focused on not getting distracted, right? And then that led me down this rabbit hole. I'm like, wait a second. So then instead of just only setting the intention on what I want to do, maybe I should also set the intention on what I need to cut out. And when I was able to do that, I was like, whoa, like there's high leverage activities, there's high leverage people in my life, there's the priorities that are important to me, then there's the things that are not important to me, which don't need to be here anymore, right? And I think that that's another important component to staying on track or to going from stuck to unstuck is asking yourself, not what do I need to do, but actually, what do I need to not do? What do I need to cut out? What do I need to say no to? Right?
No, I agree, and that's what my video was on last week was like, does the highest version of yourself binge watch television? The chances are they don't. Does the highest version of yourself hang out with their high school friend who still work at Dollar Tree? Chances are they don't,
Right.
right? Is the highest version of yourself skipping workouts because they don't feel like doing it today? Chances are they're not, right? And like it goes back to like, as someone actually told someone who actually is now actually doing coaching with me, they actually won my 6 month giveaway. And the first time she stepped in the Aries, I was like, if it doesn't serve you, it only hurts you. And she
Yeah.
ran with that
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Keith. I appreciate my man.
Yeah. For
Um,
for sure. Yeah.
but
Good.
no, and I feel like you don't have to take things that black or white, but like when you're very serious about getting somewhere as fast as possible and you want to do it faster than other people, because at the end of the day, like time is leverage, right? It's the most finite thing we do have. So like moving faster is typically better for a lot of people, right? I know it's not everyone moves at the same speed, but like we all want to get somewhere pretty quickly.
Absolutely.
And so maybe painting things black and white like that either serves you or hurts you. Maybe what some people have to do to actually get to where they want to go or get some momentum first, and then they can try to live a more balanced life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. And I was going to say the same thing as Keith. Thank you so much for that comment. Um, I will guarantee you, everybody watching this right now, the entire audience here, is someone that is a hard worker. I will guarantee that. And I will also guarantee that anybody who's watching this who's stuck is stuck not because of what everyone watching this who's stuck is because they didn't eliminate the things that they need to eliminate. Because everybody's brain goes to what more of can I do? What
Yeah.
more of can I add? Right? And it's so I don't know, for me personally, so much harder to cut than it is to add. So much harder to cut than it is to add.
But you know why? I think because you've done both before. And so I'll use like when we had the metabolic coaching program. Before people would want to cut out certain foods, they would ask to add more exercise, right? Because it's almost like they were unwilling to go without something they've had for so
Mm-hmm.
long. And like the biggest challenge I've always come across with people who say they don't have enough time
Right.
is giving up television.
Right.
Because for a lot of people, it's almost a security blanket,
Mm-hmm.
something they've had since they were a kid. And like if you grew up in the '90s like us, like a lot of times you get both parents worked, right? So like when the parents were at home, you watched TV. It's what you did, because both parents were at work.
Right.
We would call it the latchkey kid
Yeah.
generation, right?
Yeah.
Um, so like it's almost a comfort thing for people is that when they're not with their loved ones, they're not with their significant others, they're not with their family, they're not working, they watch television. And having someone give that up and they've had it the whole entire
Mm.
life, they will fight you tooth and nail before they're like, I'm giving up my shows.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's crazy, man. It really is crazy, but I get it because like you and I both have had things that we've used and maybe still do, but that we've used to not have to sit with our own feelings, not
Yeah.
have to sit with our own discomfort, right? And I think that like it's a great segue into something else I'm going to talk about is the attachments that we have, right? It's like a big part of transformation, a big part of going from stuck to unstuck, right? And a big part of even getting back on track is detaching from an older version of yourself, right? Not allowing yourself to see yourself as an older version of yourself. I saw that.
Peter.
What's up, Peter? um, so that's like I've obviously experienced it firsthand, Mark. But like, do you when you feel like you're evolving, do you feel like you feel like you're letting go of an older version of yourself? Do you feel like it happened suddenly?
So yeah, dude. So yeah, I totally get that, bro. 'Cause I remember when like my family, I had to be outside until the streetlights went on, and then I was allowed back inside. And I'm convinced this is why our generation doesn't get sick because we were outside all day and we drank from the fucking hose.
Yep.
And our immune system is fucking phenomenal
Yeah,
from drinking
fire.
the hose. I'm convinced.
100%.
Uh, hose water as children is better than any
Let's
vaccine.
go. Drink the hose, baby. Love it.
But no. That being said, so the big periods of time where I evolved the most in my life, um, so the first big change was after my first attempt at suicide 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was the ego death following that
Uh-huh.
was the biggest, and it was a decision I made. I was like, well, fuck, obviously it's not my time to leave yet. So like, and I hate the person I am. So like, how the fuck do I become the best version of myself? Like, what do I have to do?
Right.
And I was like, so like, I'm gonna classify the old version of Mark as dead, right? The version of Mark that woke up is not the same version of Mark that lay down, right? So that was a transformation I physically felt because whatever I wanted to do, I didn't fucking do it.
Right.
If I wanted to, when I came back to New Jersey, if you were my friend, I didn't hit you up. If it was an activity I participated in before, I didn't do it. I think I sold my Xbox the moment I moved back to Jersey. I got rid of my television. Like I gave up everything that was something that I used to do that was not constructive.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started leading with the tenets that if it doesn't make me money, it doesn't make me better at my hobby, it doesn't make me better at my career, or make me a better man, it does not serve me. Like those things aren't allowed in my life. And those four pillars I created is how I lived my life following.
Yeah.
And I would almost feel the transformation because I'd be like, I've never done this before, and I'm excelling at it.
Mm-hmm.
I got a job at a place that would never have hired me before. I got promoted faster than everyone who worked here, and it was just like small little things and how I showed up. And like I remember showing up at my startup wearing a suit and
Yeah.
tie, and the dress code was casual.
Right.
And I wore a suit and tie every fucking day
Yeah.
because I wanted everyone to know that I was better than them.
Yeah.
That was it. That was the whole entire point.
Yep.
Was I wanted to prove that I was gonna be better than everyone that was there.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I don't know, like I think that was the biggest time in my life where I felt the biggest
Yeah.
shift. Because I went from being a broke 20-something-year-old kid that couldn't afford his fucking rent in Florida and had to drive Lyft and Uber at the same time to pay my rent, compared to like, oh cool, I'm leading mergers and acquisitions at a fucking startup. Like what the fuck happened
Yeah.
in 12 months? And that was the biggest shift that I felt. And like, granted, like sometimes you have to break yourself to be
Yep.
reborn, right?
Yep.
And not everyone has to do such an extreme thing to experience that.
Right.
But I think it was my first ego death of many that I've experienced over my life.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. Yeah, we got a comment from SG Ace. I appreciate that. Where you said I evolved in jail also when I finally got outside of the hood, right? Yeah, for me it was an overdose, a seizure, almost dying, going to rehab, and then multiple almost bankruptcies as well, where I've had my most powerful ego deaths. And this is what I'll say is these are great stories. These are great fucking stories, right? And there's a few components to this that are important. One is changing your environment is really important. Changing your physical location is really important, right? The next thing I'll say is this, right? Change before you have to. Just because you see stories of Elon Musk having a day left and then figuring it out, or just because you hear on this live, for example, Mark attempting suicide, or me, becoming a drug addict and going through seizure, doesn't mean you have to get there. In fact, the most successful people are the ones that are able to change dramatically every day before they have to, right?
Yep.
And that's what real magic is. However,
Proactive versus reactive, right?
right, you want to construct your own life, and I think that's a lot of times when you have the ego death, you realize, hold up, like I was being so reactive, right? But I want to be proactive and I want to be responsive, not reactive, right? But sometimes life is going to make you change your environment because you fucked up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it might be, life is going to make you change your physical environment, right? But for those people that are stuck in a certain environment and then they're stuck in their life, the thing is this, right? You can change your environment in your own mind. This is the power of meditation. This is the power of visualization. This is the power of closing your fucking eyes and imagining yourself being that person, right? And the most successful people do that, right? In every field, every domain. Oprah talks about it. Fucking Kai Green talked about it. Fucking The Rock talks about it. Conor McGregor talks about it. Kobe Bryant talks about it.
Mm-hmm.
You name it, the person did it. Every successful person has some form of visualization where they see themselves as that future version of themselves. And then they see the world around them working exactly with them the way they want the world around them. And it's like they're fucking taking reality and they're bending it and they're making it their bitch.
Yeah, literally, that's the best way to put it. And that's why, like, affirmation is affirmations if there's no actual action behind it,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest things is that we can talk about it all we want,
Yeah.
and we can visualize all we want,
Mm-hmm.
but we also then have to put some action behind those thoughts.
Absolutely.
Those are
Absolutely.
dreams,
Right.
right?
100%. 100%. And I think this is where, like, it's so funny because I've noticed there's two schools of thought, where the one school of thought is like affirmations, visualization, meditation, right? And the other is just do the work and that's it, right? But they work concurrently. Like they can't work without each other.
Yeah.
It would be like this: if you only did the work, it would be like walking the path without knowing where the destination was.
Yeah.
Right? If you just did the visualization, it would be like getting crystal clear on exactly where you want to get to, right? Having the map right in front of you, having the X and the X, but like not actually taking a step. What the fuck's the point of the map, right?
Yeah.
But when you both, it's you're understanding where the destination is, you're getting crystal clear on it, and then you just take a walk there,
For my meatheads watching this, I'll give you a very meathead example. It's the guy who goes in the gym who moves a bunch of weight and trains really hard but has no idea what the fuck he's doing, compared to the person that has a coach, has a plan, but doesn't know how to work out, right?
Yeah.
It's one or the other. That's why they go so well together, and that's why, like, I'm a huge fan of Jocko on top of people like Jordan Peterson, because they're very different end of the spectrum. One just fucking get up and fucking do it, just run the fucking hill,
Mm.
and the other one is like, cool, like you need to develop like a extremely strong mental fortitude, And after you develop that, you can put your mind in anything. And if you can put your mind in anything, your body will follow it.
Right.
And that's one of the like the big things that like I think I always I told myself yesterday. So it was like 10:30 at night, and I was like, I still have 3,000 steps left. I have to go for a walk, and I was walking out my door, putting on my jacket. I was like, it's so fucking cold. I wish I was less disciplined, and that I would be okay not finishing these steps.
Mm,
And
mm,
and I'm not saying that being too disciplined is an issue, but like I want your dreams and your ambitions to almost, not saying ruin your night, but like to the point that like if you don't get shit done, it eats at you. Like that's how bad you should want
mm.
things. That like it eats you. And I had to go for that fucking walk at 10:30 something at night because I had to do it, or there's no way that I would have laid down and been okay with myself.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you,
Absolutely.
Tugboat.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's I love that people are loving this. Anybody else who is loving this, or anyone who has any questions or anything like that, please ask away. I'm curious to know, Mark. Were there other questions that people said?
They were imposter syndrome based, is getting back on track. A lot of people obviously this time of year have just competed or just did a show. Many
Interesting.
people, especially with the sport becoming more and more popular, a lot more newcomers to the sport, so they're experiencing like the first like rebounds and the first post-show depression and all things like that. So a lot of more related to that, and that's probably where these questions come from. Is that like someone who entered fitness for the first time and did their first bodybuilding show, and maybe they fucked up their rebound and they're up 20 pounds and it's not a good 20 pounds, or and they can't control their hunger cues now and it's hard getting back into your routine. Like this is probably a commonplace for a lot of people right now this time of season, because it's fall season's coming to an end, and a lot of newcomers this past year. So definitely like how to get back on track from that perspective. This is especially when your brain's working against you from a neurochemical perspective, right? Because like post show food is better than sex, right? The
Right.
serotonin release from eating your favorite food post show is immense.
Yeah.
Hunger cues are so off. Ghrelin production is through the roof,
Right.
and it feels like your own body is literally fighting against you because it is. It thought you were dying. It thought you were starving to death. So it's going to trick you as much as it can to make you want to eat a ton of fucking food. So you fuck up more,
Absolutely.
and you have to fight those cues. You really do. It's it's one of the few times that you have to tell your body to shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I'm reading all these comments coming in too. So I struggle adding too much. I hate that I'm disciplined too. I hate that I beat my alarm at 4:30 a.m. Okay, do you hate that, or do you just hate sometimes how you feel because of that? Because it sounds like you fucking love yourself for that and you love that, but sometimes it's an absolute monster. That's what it sounds like. You see SG Ace's
Mhm.
comment there. But Mark, yeah, to your point. So when I fought last, okay, right after the fight, bro, the same shit, dude. You don't want to go back in the gym and get hit in the head again, right? You don't want to get fucking punched in the face, right? You know, after a state championship soccer game, right? And then the summer comes, dude. You don't want to fucking train, bro. You just won something big, or even lost. It doesn't matter. You put it all out there, right? Post show, it's even more physiological than anything else because, like you said, food tastes so fucking good, and you're starving, and you know you deserve it, and all that. I think this is the first thing. I got this from George St. Pierre. When you stop calling things sacrifices, okay, and instead just call them decisions, they become a lot easier. So I noticed this. It's like after those events, it's very easy to tell yourself that you're sacrificing. It's very easy to tell yourself that you're being noble, right? Look at me. I'm getting my rebound right and nobody else is because I'm motivated, because I'm sacrificing, right? But as soon as you say that you're sacrificing something, you're now framing it as something that should be hard, right? But like that, you do this really fucking well, Mark, is you make things part of who you are. So like when you're doing a show, you don't feel the need to tell everyone. And it's not that you're not trying to show off. It's not that you're not trying to like be loud about it, right? You're not even thinking about that. You're literally just like, this is who I fucking am. Like, oh, okay, I'm doing a show. It's not a big deal, right? I think there's some strategy and tactic behind it where you don't want everyone's opinion to kind of get in your way. And but for the most part, like, bro, it's just who you are. It's just who you are. And when you stop talking about it like it's a sacrifice, right? When you stop talking about it like, oh, I used to do this. Well, I work so fucking late. Now, bro, last night I was up till fucking 4. Tonight I'll probably be up to 4. Maybe you'll hear about it. Maybe you won't. But I'm not going to tell anybody about it because I want them to think it's a sacrifice. I might just say it because it's a matter of fact, right? I think that's really important when you reframe it as a part of who you are. Oh, I think I lost you, Mark. I can't hear you. Fuck. Is it me or you? All right, I am going to.
No, there we go. There we go. Boom. Yeah. I guess when I was scrolling, the thing I touched it. No, what I was saying was, I think there's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B when it comes to that for me. I think me not talking about it also, like you said, removes the outside comments from other people for sure when it comes to me doing anything. It also removes any expectation people have about me or about the event. And I think the other thing is too, I feel like the more you talk about something, the more ingrained it becomes, and the more you think about it.
Yeah.
And I feel like things like contest prep, I think things like training, the less you think about it, the easier it becomes. And this is why I strongly think some of the best bodybuilders were the dumbest, because they didn't have to think about it. Like when Ronnie Coleman walked in the Metroflex, he was handed one workout routine. He did the same workout routine for 10 fucking years. He didn't ask why. He just fucking did it.
Yep.
And I think a much smarter version of Ronnie Coleman that asked a bunch of questions and wanted to play with a bunch of food options and wanted to play with a bunch of workouts would not have looked and would not have been the same Ronnie Coleman we know today.
Yeah.
And I just think it's one of the things that if you can just keep it simple, it's much easier.
Absolutely.
Kiss for everything, dude.
Keep it simple. So yeah. I mean, and this is I bring up all these people, right? This is what fucking Tim Grover said, right? I don't know if you probably remember the book Relentless, right?
Yeah.
And Kobe started to kind of was it Kobe or Dwayne Wade? One of the two of them was starting to get in their own head. It was Kobe, and he flew on the private jet to go see Tim Grover, and Tim Grover told him 2 words. Do you remember what those 2 words were?
Black Mamba.
Don't think. That's what the 2 words were. Because Kobe was saying, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if? And Tim Grover's like, bro, none of this shit is fucking happening, right? You're creating these problems in your own mind. Just don't think. So to your point, right? It's like when you get into that zone, you just get into that zone and you don't want to think about it. And I like what you're saying. It's like the more you talk about it, the more dialogue there's around it, the more likely you are to obsess over it. And then you obsess over it and you ruminate and you think about the problems and you think about what could happen. You think about what people might say and you think about who's going to be at the show and you think about what you're just thinking about shit that you can't fucking control.
Yeah.
Like, for what?
Exactly. You can't control who shows up. You can't control who's judging it. All you control is what you do. So there's no reason to obsess about it. Just set your alarms and do the thing you're supposed to do when they go off. That's it.
100%. 100%.
And that same thing applies to everything in life, right? Like when I worked in mergers and acquisitions, I didn't walk into work every single day being like, I'm closing this deal. It's not what I fucking did. I walked into work every single day. I wrote down what I wanted to accomplish. I made those fucking calls and I made sure shit happened. That's just all I did, right? I didn't walk into work saying what I was going to do. I just did it.
You just did it.
And there's a big thing about it's walking tall and carrying a big stick. Teddy Roosevelt, right? It's not necessarily what you actually say; it's all about what you do.
Yeah. I think that's where like naturally you and I probably differ a little bit, right? We always talk about like the alpha sigma, like the sigma is like the quiet alpha, and then the alpha is just like somebody who's louder. So, different personalities. Like Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor would tell people the exact round he was going to knock them out, and then he went ahead and did it, right? You have another example, probably a better fighter, Khabib. Khabib just, he was a little bit quieter, although he started to get a little louder towards the end of his career. But it's cool. It's different schools of thought there, but I think both categories of people did exactly what they said they were going to do, whether they said it to themselves or whether they said it out loud, or both. So absolutely.
Sure. And it's funny because like today I was listening to ET on my walk this morning because like I do have my my morning walk every morning, and it gives me a lot of time to think about myself and give me some clarity. And there was a phrase that the ET says, and it says, "Nothing has ever grown to be beautiful without dirt on it."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I made me really think about it, and I was like, "You're kind of right. Like every single thing that has turned into something beautiful had a rough period before it. If we're talking about like a seed turning into a tree, right?" And he references an oak tree, and he's like, an oak tree is the biggest, strongest trees out there. And
Right.
he's like, if you put this oak tree in a little planter pot, it's only going to grow to be as big as the planter pot,
Absolutely.
where it has the potential to be bigger than a house, but it only stay this size based on its environment. So if
Absolutely.
you don't change your environment and you don't put some dirt on it, you're never going to grow to your full potential.
Not gonna grow. It's not gonna grow, right? And that's like the beautiful thing. Like for anybody who's going through a tough time, right? If anybody's going through a period of struggle, here's a little perspective shift that may help. It's not that you have to get through this period, right? It's not that you have to get past this or you have to beat this, right? But rather, it's that this is necessary in becoming the person you want to get to. So let's just say there's this arbitrary whatever, you want it to be the CEO or you want it to be this bodybuilder, you want it to be this whatever it is, athlete, fighter, right? You can either go through this period now or later. But either way, this period that is really hard is something that you will have to go through to get to where you want to be. Have to. It's necessary. That's the first thing. The second thing is, this is what hard feels like. I don't know why people make it seem like when they're successful, now all of a sudden things are easy and that the hard part was behind them. When you are successful, whatever that may mean to you, right? Every fucking day is going to be a battle until you hit an inflection point where you grow. And you know what's going to happen then at the next level? Every fucking day is going to be even a harder battle than the fucking battles you're fighting today. So if you feel hard, guess what? That's your fucking everyday. So you better learn to love it. Fucking learn to love it.
Yeah, that's what it actually is. It's like, I'll compare it to running, really. Like when you first start running a 5K may be challenging. Maybe you have to walk half of it. And after a few months, a 5K is nothing for you. You crush that in 30 minutes. So it's nothing. It's cake, right? And then you get the next point, you're like, I'm going to run 10K.
Yep.
And like, that's going to be fucking hard as shit.
Uh-huh.
Extremely fucking hard.
Yep.
And then a few months later, you know what? You crush that. What's next? A marathon, right? And
Absolutely.
that's going to be hard as fuck. And everyone talks about the 18-mile point. When you
The
hit
wall.
mile 18 is the wall. And every part of your body tells you to stop at mile 18 on a
Mm-hmm.
marathon. And after you break past your wall, you know for a fucking fact you're going to finish the race.
Absolutely.
And that's what every goal is that when you get to the next inflection point, when you evolve to the next point, it becomes hard all over again because now the goal is bigger.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the size of a man is determined by the size of his problems,
Yeah.
right? The size of a man is determined by the size of his problems. And you know what's really cool too? And I know, Mark, you go through this, and I know that I go through this, and it's great that we have each other and a few other people in our lives that can relate to this. But there comes a point where your problems become a certain size that you get a little bit lonely,
Yeah.
where people around you are just not going to understand them, right? Like a making payroll problem. Most people are not going to understand
Yeah.
that. Most people are not going to feel bad, right? Needing to raise X amount of capital problem. Most people are not going to know that, right? A really competitive athletic endeavor or event and the
Mhm.
stress and pressure behind that. Most people are not going to be able to relate to that, right? As you get higher and higher levels. The only thing that they can offer is, oh, you got this, or oh, he's complaining about that. And it's like, so that add that on to the equation. It's like yeah, there's going to be a point where you're struggling more than you've ever struggled, and you're feeling more lonely than you've ever felt before, right? Part of the
Mhm.
game.
I remember talking to my therapist about when we first started our round of funding. Um, and she was like, "You'll get past it." And I was like, "I totally understand that you're saying this just to say it, but you have no fucking idea.
Yeah,
You have zero idea."
yeah,
And I try to say it the nicest way possible. Like, You work for a business. Like, you don't work for yourself. Like, you have no idea what stress is coming along with this.
Right.
And no one I spoke to who, because most of everyone I know for the most part has been bootstrapped.
Yeah.
So like they didn't understand. They didn't fucking get
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
then obviously my family was like, it'll be better. You don't know
Yeah.
this, right? And like, yeah, the bigger the problems, the more successful you are, the lonelier it gets. And this is why I will always say that typically the more successful a person is, the weirder they are too, and the weirder you are, the less friends you have,
That's
right?
true.
And that kind of goes hand in hand because like. Granted, if you're not fucking weird, you're like everyone else, and you're like everyone else. You think the same as everyone else, and you think the same as everyone else. You're doing the same shit everyone else is doing, and you're seeking approval from those people as well.
Absolutely.
The weird people are in essence staying in their own lane,
Yeah.
doing things the way they want to do it and the way they envision it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But that's okay because the crazy ones are the ones that change the world. The crazy ones are the ones that actually make themselves something, and the crazy ones are the ones that inspire others. Um, Mark, something else I did want to mention when talking about going from feeling stuck to unstuck or getting back on track, it comes down to this is another little SOP. And actually, I'll say I keep singing your praise, Mark, but you really are doing a great job in a lot of things. Um, it comes down to two things. One is self map. Comes down to two things in this order. In this order, self mastery one, service two. Okay. Now, if you switch the order of this and you're focusing on serving others, but you haven't mastered yourself, well, then you're serving others from a place of you being chaotic and you not having your ducks in a row. And it's really hard for you to pour into someone else's cup. But when you commit to self mastery, and then concurrently or subsequently after, like, all right, as I'm mastering myself, as I'm going through the process of keeping more and more and more and more promises to myself and making bigger promises that I'm going to keep and having more integrity with myself, and then I say, hey, instead of focusing so much on the result of getting, right, let's focus on how can I give. Bro, the fucking world opens up for you. And it's so easy to go from stuck to unstuck.
I have to agree. I have to agree there. And this is the funny thing about this though,
Mm,
and this is the one funny thing about this, is the most selfless people I know are also the ones with the least probably self mastery. And their life
the-
is always chaotic. And it's crazy to think that if they just put a little bit maybe more effort in the self mastery part of that, they would excel so much faster and still do what they love, but their energetics should be so much different.
but let me ask you this. Isn't self-abandoning one of the most selfish things you can do? Like, if your shit is not in order, right? Like, if your life is not in order, and then you go choose to give your last dollar to someone else instead of making 100 and then giving 50 to other people, right? Doesn't that make you more selfish than less selfish?
I guess people don't think that way, but someone like me and you would, right? Because I would look at that I am almost self sabotaging myself to help someone.
Right.
While on the backhand is if I just help myself, I'll have more resources to help
Yeah.
other people.
Right. Right.
It's funny you said this. I have a video dropping this week, and it talks about that I don't believe in the phrase that money can't buy happiness.
Right.
And the reason why I say this is because money by itself can't buy you happiness,
No.
but money can buy you freedom. And with freedom, you can do things that you love. And if something you love is feeding starving children in Africa, and you work at Dollar Tree and you can't even afford a flight to Africa, how the fuck are you going to go help build fresh streams? How are you going to help do things, right? You're not going to have the ability to. You're not going to have the resources to do it. But you know what? If you understand, if you make a bunch of money, you have the ability to go there yourself. You can build streams, stay there for months, and do stuff that you love, and not worry about money, right? If you want to build shelters for stray animals, guess what? It requires resources. It requires money. To help everyone the best way you want to help everyone, it all requires resources at the end of the day. And if that what makes you happy, and if giving makes you happy, guess what? You need to make money first before you can give.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. I mean, the key to not being depressed is to be able to express. Right. And people who have money who are miserable are simply not expressing themselves the way that they want to. Right. And
Yeah.
that's health is really important too. Right. Because if you are not healthy, you can't express yourself the way you want. Right.
Mhm.
So you need health, you need connections, you need all of those things to be able to express yourself the way you want to. But money if you know how to express yourself the way you want to, then absolutely money can
Give
buy you out.
freedom.
Yeah,
As why I like to say, it gives you free. Again, it isn't by habit. It gives you freedom, and with freedom, you can do what you love, right? And like I kind of look back to like when I lived in Florida and I was working at Nutrex during the day and driving Uber and Lyft at night. Is that I had no freedom, right?
right.
I had a rush on workouts in the morning. I wasn't able to afford body work as much as I wanted to.
Yeah,
Um, PEDs and supplements were like on the back burner because I could barely
yeah,
afford them. Like I wasn't able to do the thing I love doing because I was so focused on just getting by.
absolutely.
And when
Yeah,
you're just focused on getting by, it's hard not to be miserable because your whole entire day revolves around working and how am I going to pay for this?
yep,
And like when you're living in scarcity, it's hard to be truly happy.
absolutely, 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 100%. Mark, I did want to say because I do have to run in a
Yeah.
little bit, but the hypnosis tape.
Yes. Do you end up rolling the prep one,
I
the pro show?
I will be
Okay.
next
Cool.
day.
So let me talk about it real quick.
Mhm.
So, guys, I know all of us love Machiavelli motivation videos. We love watching motivation videos on YouTube. I know many of us backstage or before the gym listen to some Machiavelli motivation or some type of shit like this. So, Neil has rolled out a bunch of these 9D hypnosis tapes. And by 9D, I don't mean 90, I mean 9 like D, like as in dick. 9D uh, hypnosis videos, which means that the sound comes from all different ways. So you do have to use like Beats headphones or higher quality headphones so you can get the true experience. But these 9D hypnosis tapes really allow us to like tap deep into our self-conscious and unlock parts of our brain that are in essence being suppressed. And Neil actually made one of these for one of our clients who did summer shred. And it was for our client Patrick Cross, and he did the transformation division over there. And when he first joined our program 3 years ago, this man has never even stepped foot into a gym, and he was about to step on stage in front of hundreds of people regarding his transformation challenge. And he listened to this hypnosis tape like 3 or 4 times. And man, when I tell you that this guy had stage presence at 55 years old after being scared to take his shirt off at a pool, it was the most beautiful thing in the world. And after Neil hearing about the experience and seeing how well our Facebook group has been doing with these 90 hypnosis tapes, Neil decided that he's going to make the 90 hypnosis tape specifically for show day to relax people the day of show, to calm their nerves, and make them feel more confident before going on stage.
Absolutely, and I'm excited to make it. I'm excited to make it. It's all scripted now. I just have to record it. So yeah, I'm really excited to give it to
Yep.
the world.
So next Monday on our Motivation Monday, we will be posting the link in our story where you'll be able to download that audio tape.
Let's go. Let's freaking go. I love it. Mark, man, I appreciate this. This was a lot of fun.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I hope you enjoy your evening. Everyone who watched, thank you for joining in today. We'll be posting this following this, so you can rewatch the replay later. Until next time, guys, take care.